Hello, my beautiful movie-loving people. Thank you so much for clicking on another episode of Side Flick. We got a lot of movie news to dive into here today. Some of the stuff we're going to be talking about is another brand spanking update on the Friday the 13th franchise, one that should be very exciting. We have Jason Blum talking about another Paranormal Activity movie while he trashes the last one. A couple of comic book movie news on both the Marvel and DC side. Really, that along with so much more. So I'm going to need you movie fans to give me your opinions down below with everything we discuss here today. As a reminder, timestamps are in the description if you want to go ahead and skip around. Alright, but without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our first movie news story we got here today. First thing I'm going to discuss here is just one of the many leaks that Marvel actors have been talking about lately, some before they even get hired, which I think makes them immune to the Kevin Feige sniper. We have here Giancarlo Esposito, who we all know is wanted for so many up-and-coming roles. I mean, the DC fans want him for Mr. Freeze. I would love that. Spider-Man fans want him as Norman Osborn. He's got the waves. I would love that. And well, MCU fans, they want him for Magneto, Charles Xavier. Heck, just showing up as a cameo as Gus would be enough for us. Did that rhyme? Well, he was recently at a Comic-Con where he was speaking truthfully to fans, and he admits, yeah, he's had conversations with Marvel, and here's who he wants to play in the MCU.
I have not worked for Marvel yet. I've been in a room with them and talked to them. So, there's the talk of Magneto. There's the talk of Dr. Freeze.
Oh my.
There has been talk of, who else are they talking about over there?
Dr.
Doom.
Victor Von Doom.
Doom.
Yeah.
And there is Professor X.
Don't do this to us. Pick one.
Pick one. I'm gonna go for something that is a little bit different.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go and put it out in the universe that it is Professor X.
Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I think like 8 times out of 10 when a Marvel actor comes out and says, I've talked with them and I want to play this actor, it almost never happens. The only time I can honestly think where it has happened is with Simu Liu as Shang-Chi. He was someone who was campaigning for that role and then eventually actually got it. So part of me is like, because Giancarlo Esposito put this out there, said it, now it's not going to happen. But man, I would love him as Professor X. He's got that demeanor and he's always playing villains now. I would love to see his range as a hero. My only fear is that Marvel has just talked with him to talk about some other nobody role or a small supporting role, but it's like Giancarlo Esposito deserves a big standing role in the MCU. Still, I think we're a long way from finding out what exactly that role will be, but I throw it off to you guys. You hear these options for what Giancarlo Esposito could be in the MCU. Who would you want him to play the most, whether within the MCU or outside of it? Jumping on here to some other movie news before we just go straight horror the rest of this side flick, we have here Idris Elba admitting to another big DC project up and coming. He was recently doing an interview with Eric Davis from Fandango where he said, I just spoke with Idris Elba about his new film Beast. I asked what we'll see him in next, a Marvel project or DC, and he said DC. He said he's got a really big thing cooking for DC right now, and to me then, that means we're probably getting a Bloodsport series. James Gunn has been recently teasing he's part of another TV series outside of Peacemaker that he's working with DC on, and he's also made it clear that those shows as of right now are still safe and he's hard at work at them. They're not getting canceled by Destructive Man Zaslav. He hasn't touched them yet. So putting 2 and 2 together, I feel like that is the most obvious direction. I highly doubt Idris Elba will be playing another superhero or villain in the DCU, or that Bloodsport would even get his own solo movie. So as far as Bloodsport getting his own series on HBO Max or HBO, I would really watch that. Heck, I think I would be more excited for that than Peacemaker, and I ended up really liking Peacemaker. I just think there's some interesting things you could do with this mercenary's backstory, whether it is a sequel to the events of the Suicide Squad or what I would kind of hope a prequel where we get to see how he ended up in prison by shooting Superman with a kryptonite bullet. Could you imagine that is what the series is? So many people complained when the Suicide Squad came out that it's like, wow, this guy shot Superman and we never even get to see that. That's just like a background side story. James Gunn heard you crying, and it would be crazy if he actually turned that into a series and gave us a Superman on screen finally. Either way, it'll probably be somebody else and include a whole bunch of other lesser known DC characters, because that's what James Gunn likes to do. He likes to deal with lesser known characters that don't have that big of a fan base, so he can change them up and do what he wants without a whole lot of people complaining. So are you guys excited for more Bloodsport headed your way? Moving on here, talking about some just straight up horror movie goodness. We have a lot of updates, and let me tell you, I'm starting to get in that spirit. Just the other day, I was out and I saw a Spirit of Halloween was already taken over, and so I'm just starting to get in that spooky spooky mood. And well, something to get you guys here in the spooky mood, we have Jason Blum talking about a couple of upcoming movies, one of them, The Exorcist. This is still the upcoming rebooted movie that they have planned a whole trilogy around that I am just more curious to see than actually excited for, if I'm going to be honest with y'all. Speaking with Variety, he said here, "We're getting ready to make it. Hopefully we will do the same thing with The Exorcist that we did with Halloween. Make it in a way that's fresh and worth revisiting and feels different enough so people are happy we did it." Continuing on why he chose David Gordon Green to be the director of this, he's very good at respecting intellectual property that already exists and putting a new spin on it. And for one, I think it's interesting that Jason Blum is comparing the Exorcist franchise to what they did with the Halloween series, because I just feel like they're two different things. When you talk about the Halloween franchise, you just have big Michael Myers lovers, okay? There's people who just love the shape, love that character, and just want to see him in an interesting story slashing people up. And then when you bring it over to a franchise like The Exorcist that, yes, made exorcism type movies super popular, and there's countless ones of them, I never see people specifically loving the franchise just for the evil little girl. It's just more of how unsettling that movie was, how much it creeped them out for the time, and I just don't know if having that same slasher mentality with the Exorcist franchise is gonna work out. I'm definitely open-minded, but it's just the way they announced 3 Exorcist movies, I'm like, what could you do that is that fresh and different? Still, we'll just have to wait and see. You guys hear these comments about the upcoming Exorcist reboot. Are you excited for it? Moving on here, talking about some Paranormal Activity, Jason Blum is just being straight up mean now. In this same interview with Variety where he talked about The Exorcist, he also talked about the upcoming Paranormal Activity movie that is set to be right now the last Paranormal Activity film. And one of the reasons is because Jason Blum said it himself that the last Paranormal Activity movie was terrible. I told y'all, I said this when I reviewed the movie, Paranormal Activity Next of Kin just was not very good. It completely lost the magic and passion that was behind the Paranormal Activity franchise. I applaud them for trying something different, but to me, it just did not work out. And I was really surprised when I saw a lot of people saying, I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie. How you gonna go against Mr. Blum? You know how dangerously close this man gets to stuff?
Dangerously close.
Okay.
Jokes aside though, I was just more surprised than anything that Jason Blum actually admitted that the last movie was bad. And aside from this next one coming up that we do have some details on, he said the only way he'd make more is if some great director would come with an idea like Scott Derrickson. And that's just like to me letting me know Jason Blum really likes Scott Derrickson, and that's who I kind of want to direct the FNAF movie, man. But we still got no news on that, even though we were told.
Dangerously close.
Okay.
But as far as this next and last Paranormal Activity movie, it's set to come out in the year 2023, so next year. Based on the information we have online, it's currently titled Paranormal Activity: The Other Side. The plot synopsis currently goes as, The Other Side will feature 4 young friends who move into Katie and Christy's childhood house together before college starts, only to discover the gruesome past of their home and its connection to the 1988 incident. Set in the 1990s, it will reportedly address the fire that destroyed the property, which has only been mentioned briefly in a past few installments. And if that's the official plot then for the next Paranormal Activity movie, already miles better than the last one. I like the franchise more when it sticks to the lore and everything it's been building up in the past. This seems good to me. All that's left to wonder, will it go straight to Paramount Plus? Will this be a streaming movie, or is it going to get a theatrical release? What do you guys think about Jason Blum's comments on Paranormal Activity and this final movie? Moving on to something I was not expecting to talk about. It literally just popped up as I'm filming this side flick. We got here the announcement of 3 new The Stranger sequels coming our way. Hell frickin' yes. We have here Blade Disgusting, who exclusively reported saying The Strangers 3 new sequels in production next month. When speaking with one of the producers of those movies and asking if there would ever be another Strangers sequel, he just straight up confirmed, I think the next 3 are in production next month with another filmmaker that people will know. Lee tells us exclusively. Oh my goodness, they're gonna make 3 back-to-back The Strangers movies, and it's with a well-known director. I'm not saying it's anyone huge or big, but it seems like it's someone who, when they announce the name, you'll be like, oh, I know that director. I'm excited for this. And look, that first Strangers movie to me is pretty iconic. I remember watching it as a kid and just being terrified and so creeped out with the characters of the strangers and the mystery behind them, but really how they just ruined this couple's life. Then after like a decade, we got a sequel that I think is supposed to be a prequel that was called called Strangers Prey at Night. And look, as a horror fan, I had fun with it. I thought it was enjoyable, or I should say watchable, but it definitely did not meet the quality of the previous movie. It went for a more stylized 80s soundtrack blasting at your face vibe, which, like I said, is fun and watchable, but not really what I was expecting from a sequel that took 10 years to finally make. So now knowing they're gonna make 3 back-to-back movies, I'm just curious, why and where is this dropping? Most likely it's ending up on streaming, right? I mean, you don't just make 3 back-to-back movies unless you're gonna drop them on a streaming service Fear Street style. I also think they didn't make that much money at the box office, so if you put them in theaters, they might not perform well. This is kind of one of the beauties of the streaming platform. They give life to these franchises that would probably be dead and gone. But if they can expand on the lore, make things interesting, go back to a creepy vibe, I am down for 3 more of these freaking movies. I throw it off to you guys. You hear about the Strangers getting 3 more films in production next month. What would you want the stories to be about? Would you be interested in them? Anything and everything, let me know down below. And actually, another last minute addition to this side flick before we get to the Friday the 13th news, they just came out and announced a live action Pac-Man movie is now in the works. This news came out exclusively from the Hollywood Reporter, and although we don't have a lot of details to what this live action movie will be about, they do mention Chuck Williams, who was a producer on the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, is the one who came up with the idea. And I'll be honest with y'all, I'm surprised it took this long for a live action Pac-Man movie to happen. I just can't believe it's gonna be live action. What is that gonna look like? Are they just gonna copy kind of what they did with Sonic the Hedgehog and have Pac-Man pop out with legs and arms meeting humans? If anything, I would love them to go more the route of Pac-World. Those video games I loved as a child, and I think something in that vein would be really fun to watch. If not, get ready for a nightmare-fueled looking Pac-Man in live action. This is something I'll keep an eye out for and give you guys more updates when stuff comes out, but you hear Pac-Man is getting a live action movie, leave me your thoughts to what you think it could be about. And now, time to talk about the Peace Day Resistance, good old Jason Voorhees. So just to kind of bring you guys up to speed, I know it sucks every time I have to explain this, but this is the Cliff Notes version. If you want the more expanded explanation, check out this video I made when the Friday the 13th lawsuit was finally completed. So if you've been following the Friday the 13th news, you basically already know this. There was a lawsuit where they were battling for the rights of Jason Voorhees. And what it came down to when it was all said and done is Victor Miller, who wrote the original Friday the 13th, got the rights to the very first movie. But he did not get the rights entirely to Jason Voorhees. Instead, Horror Inc., who made a lot of the sequels, kept the rights to adult Jason, basically making it so that 2 different people own different halves of Jason and making it very unclear whether fans will ever see a complete Friday the 13th movie again. Well, thanks to an interview here with Roy Lee, the producer who just let us know we're also getting 3 new The Stranger movies, he was speaking with Bloody Disgusting and he was asked about his involvement in the past with the Friday the 13th franchise that he was attached to before, and they have it here. Roy Lee tells the Boo Crew in exclusive chat that one is something that I would love to talk about. You may be hearing something by year's end on that front. And again, this is the same producer who was working for Vertigo Entertainment that was about this close to bringing us the next Friday the 13th movie. Admittedly, it was going to be the one that LeBron James was attached to, and even rumors that it was going to involve found footage, or maybe Jason in the snow. We never really got that far to know, but what this really tells us then, if this producer is now cooking up something Friday the 13th, and we're going to get an announcement come by the end of this year, hopefully, those 2 different parties that own separate parts to Jason Voorhees have now come together with an agreement so that the fans can get Jason Voorhees as we know him, with the title Friday the 13th, with the hockey mask as an adult or as a child, with Pamela Voorhees maybe popping up in ghost form. Basically, a true Friday the 13th sequel that we were scared we were not going to get. They have been cooking up something in the background, and I am so dang excited, man. I have missed Jason on the big screen. Michael Myers is out there, Ghostface is out there, even Chucky got his shot. All we need left is Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger, and both of them have just been little news, tiny breadcrumb updates where they're like, yeah, they're popping up, yeah, they're coming, but now here, yo, by the end of the year, we could get some big news. All that's left to wonder then is, what do they do? Is it another reboot? Do they try to do the Michael Myers thing and go back to like a sequel to one of the previous movies? I really don't know what the best option would be, because like Texas Chainsaw Massacre tried copying the Michael Myers Halloween 2018 formula, and they did it terribly. So I wouldn't want Jason just to be a copycat of that formula. I would want them to do something new. So I wouldn't mind a full-on reboot, but I'm excited to see what would happen. Let me know what you guys think, hearing now from a producer in Hollywood that a Friday the 13th announcement would be coming by the end of the year. what do you think it'll be? But that is all the movie news we currently have going on right now, guys. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch me talk some movie news. Don't be forgetting to hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.